I want to do my business in Louisiana, or I want to work in Louisiana because I know I love it and I want to raise my family here. But I raised my family here, and I started my business and grew my business, and I've had a full life because of it. So I want to keep these people in our state.
Welcome to the Seismic Shift podcast. I'm your host, Michelle Johnston, and today we're going to talk about the seismic shifts shaking up your job and your life. But even more exciting than just seismic shifts, we have Todd Graves is in the house, and we're talking about everything Super Bowl. Y'all, next week, all of the big events happen, and Todd Graves is not only the founder of Raising Cane's Chicken, and I had the beautiful honor of interviewing him and including him in my first book, The Seismic Shift in Leadership, talking about his story and how he created a positive environment at Raising Cane's. And Todd, now you're the king of the frickin' Super Bowl parade. How about that?
It's exciting. Hey, look, when the host committee asked me if I'd like to be the king of the Super Bowl host committee parade, I was honored. And as I said, that would be incredible, but I think you should go for somebody a little more famous, more internationally known from the state. Let's talk about maybe a Drew Brees, maybe Shaquille O'Neal. But then they explained, look, the host committee really wanted to showcase how great of a state we are to do business in. And you're an example of that. And then I got that vision and I said, man, you know what? I would love to represent that in because this state has embraced me, been an incredible place to start and grow my business. So very proud to represent that side of our state.
Oh, Todd, it was a great choice for sure. And I serve on the Super Bowl committee, and we're so thrilled to have you represent. And you're right. This is all about, for us, my lens, how I view this is from an economic development standpoint. This is a great opportunity to shine the spotlight, not just on New Orleans and not just on Baton Rouge, where you are, on the entire state of Louisiana and the entire region. And that's what gets me really excited, is to have this platform. So I'm sure the listeners are going to want to know, are you throwing out chicken fingers on the floats? What are you throwing?
No, chicken fingers just don't travel that well through the air. Our little packets of cane sauce. So now we came up with a lot of good throws, and especially to commemorate the date, the good collectible beads. They even have one of them with me on it. I recommended my team against that, but they thought that was a good idea. And just some good stuff from the throws that literally people would be able to go in and keep forever. Look, it's the first time a Super Bowl's ever done a parade. And of course, New Orleans is going to be one to celebrate that. The right way to show off our culture, but it's never happened before, right? There's so many people there's locals and then so many tourists come in and see the game. And look, this is one of the great things you could do during the day. It's going to be family friendly. It's going to be Saturday before the Sunday Super Bowl. 10 a.m. in the morning, rolling through the heart of the French Quarter. And for all those people to come out and get to enjoy, and I'm really excited it's going to be televised, and people, from all over the world will see that in conjunction with the Super Bowl, and it's never been done before, and it's unique to us.
It is so exciting. And you're absolutely right. It's on the Saturday right before the Super Bowl. So February the 8th at 10 a.m. I'll be there. You'll see me. And it's going as one of the volunteers. And the parade route, for all of you who want to participate in super exciting Super Bowl events, this is actually a parade that's going through the French Quarter, which is amazing. Not right down the middle, not Bourbon or Royal, but right on along St. Peter's and Decatur and circling around. I mean, this hasn't been done as far as a parade going through that route in a very long time. So we are thrilled about that. And the fact that you have cool throws and that you're supporting economic development. So for the listeners tuning in, we're so grateful for you. And again, these are all of our special episodes about the Super Bowl. And I just want to give you a little bit more of a context. When I interviewed Todd for my first book of The Seismic Shift in Leadership, I was seriously trying to deconstruct what this aha thing that came to me, that leadership has to shift to being about connection, away from command and control, and we've got to do it differently. So I had this aha moment, but then I had to figure out, what does that look like? What does that sound like? And so I interviewed, I remember John Georges. I said, John, and then I interviewed Judy Terzadas. I said, who really embodies connection from a leadership perspective? And they said, Todd Graves. And our interviews for that book were some of the coolest interviews, because you taught me how at the gates of LSU, you built one fast food restaurant. that did things differently and focused on this is what I just sent you a picture recently. I was on stage at the Sanger, a super cool, huge audience, big event talking about you and trying to share with them and get them to visualize how you had an opportunity to disrupt fast food and do it differently and create this positive environment where your cashiers and your fry cooks had advancement possibilities and where there was cool music playing and cool outfits. Could you share a little bit of that with our listeners?
Yeah, I just wanted to do something different in my restaurant. I grew up in my mom's kitchen, and food was about connection to me. It was time we could spend together, creating something for people that we love. Right, that's what Louisiana does. We get together over food or music or an event, a parade. This is how we connect. And so I wanted to go into business, and I worked in fast food. I worked in college and even back to high school. And I knew the environment I wanted to do. I knew the quality of the food that I wanted to have. I knew the price points I needed to do for college students because look, I was just out of college, and I wanted to be different, right? And so it was just looking wear cool, casual uniforms, right? Get Racing Kings t-shirt, wear jeans, wear shorts, whatever. I don't care. Let's just be nice to the people. Let's don't have scripted things in the drive-through. Why don't you just we got to make sure we thank them for their business and get their order right. But besides that, have fun with it. We're going to listen to music in the kitchens, which was not something that people did. We're going to have a good time. And those things, it goes through not just the food's great and craveable, but it has to be that vibe, that friendliness, the vibe, that whole thing that goes with it, then and that appreciation. That's what made it different, right? And that's why we get more frequency, just as much frequency than other quick service competitors that have 10 times the menu item, right? We have the same thing, but people come back. And so look, a lot of us just come down to that's Louisiana values. And that's what I grew up with. So it's kind of interesting having that now be an international business that resonates everywhere.
You are absolutely right. And that's what I wanted you to fast forward to our listeners is, okay, so you opened up that one restaurant at the gates of LSU, and now it is an international business. How many fast food restaurants do you have?
We're right about 1,000 locations now, and we're growing about 100 a year, and which is good, and growing across the United States, and then also growing in different parts of the world, which is really fun.
That is super exciting. And you're right. What you were able to encapsulate and share with everybody was this Louisiana spirit of laughing through the drive-through. I remember you and I were interviewing for the book during the pandemic, and you were scared. You're like, I think our revenue is going to be down 30%. I don't know. And I said, Todd, I just went through your drive-through here in New Orleans with my daughter. The line was around the block. I don't think your revenue is going to go down. And do you remember it ended up going up?
It did absolutely went up. Well, unfortunately, drive-throughs the one thing could be open. It was really unfortunate to the mom and pop restaurants and all those other restaurants that didn't have drive-throughs. So I worked with the presidential team on getting the right ways to do safely give food and, to bring food out. We started off, I just pleaded literally the government saying, look, people at least go put something in somebody's trunk. This is, if we're handing out the drive-thru when you can do those things anyway. But if it's a lot of those restaurants were at a disadvantage, our drive-thrus were just slam busy, and we had to learn to serve people quicker and faster. That's what she was saying. That came with that was a lot of guilt that went with. That's why I did that show, Restaurant Recovery. Right. I literally shot that in the middle of the pandemic. I'm like, we got to get something out there right now showing that there's all these restaurants that are literally family restaurants. A lot of people, a lot of minority restaurants, things like that. They don't have the same marketing budget I do. They don't have the locations where everybody drives by. You have to remember to go there. So that was the whole idea of the show of doing that show is to show how much love goes into those restaurants, those people do, and how important and how much diversity you get from that in different types of restaurants and different ways of thinking. Small business is the backbone of this country. So it's like, we have to go to those places. We have to remember to go to those places, and don't let people like Haynes are constantly pounding you with good marketing, to be taking all of your meals, go to them as well. But yep, it was what a crazy time that was.
Yes, it was. And you reminded me of your mantra of one love, right? And you were one of the first big corporate leaders to include the vocabulary word love, that you really could love each other like a family and have fun and laugh and create such a different environment. And then you ended up on Shark Tank.
Shark Tank was a blast. They asked me, we'd like you to do the show. I'm a fan of the show. Obviously, I love entrepreneurship. So, I've always enjoyed watching. And they said, "Why would you want to be on the show?" I said, "Well, I mean, I think one, I'm a fan of it. I'd like to compete. I'd love to see these deals, and I also too is I'd like to help entrepreneurs. So I've seen just incredible stories come through the show. I'd love to do it. Plus, obviously, it's good promotion for my business, for Raising Cane's as well, which I'm always constantly promoting. And so going on the show, I was a little bit nervous because I'd invest in some things outside of my business, but it's months and months of due diligence, and going on and having 1 hour to have a pitch from something you have no idea what's coming on. I was like, goodness gracious, these people are really good at this, meaning the other sharks, and how am I going to be able to get in there? But I knew Mark Cuban before, and I got to meet all the other sharks the night before we went on, and they couldn't have been more accommodating, saying, "Hey, this is going to be fun. We're fans of Canes. We're going to help you out. It's going to be fun battling for stuff." And they were like, "The best advice is just be yourself. Just 100% be yourself." And so I went in the next day not nervous at all. I mean, I was prepared, how do I ask my questions? What do I want to know? But not nervous. And so when I got to do that, I just got to have a great time, got to help out some good entrepreneurs that have done great since the
Oh,
show. It
that's
was
so
really fun.
cool. You just have this story that just keeps getting more and more interesting just when you think it's not possible. So let's go back to the Super Bowl. So now I want the listeners to understand this is why he was named the king of the Super Bowl, right? He was so humble in the very beginning. Like, don't you want somebody more famous? You represent what we want to sell the message to be was New Orleans is a great place to do business. And it's a great place to raise a family. I have a 20-year-old daughter who's at the University of Georgia. And she said, "Mom, I've got to figure out a way how to get a great job and how to find somebody to move back to New Orleans with me and get married so I can raise my children in New Orleans, in this great state of Louisiana, where people know how to celebrate and how to have fun." And so that's why he's the king of the Super Bowl. So let's talk more about that, like for people who are coming into the city from, what do we have? 5,000, 6,000 media just coming in for the game. What can we sell about New Orleans and about Louisiana, about Baton Rouge that other people might not know?
Well, I mean, I think first is just reinforcing the things we're great at, right? And reminding people. And then look, you got a lot of people that watch the Super Bowl, right? It's the number one sporting event in the United States, real big worldwide. I think maybe the World Cup's a little bit bigger, or maybe Olympics, but United States, you have all these younger people that are going to watch, right? They've heard stories about New Orleans, but actually seeing it, right? And seeing a parade go through, seeing all that footage, we are the most unique city in the United States of America. We're a very worldwide city. But when you see and get to hear good music and see good food and see people have fun in the quarter, uptown, all over town, see the parades, I think it's reinforcing that. And for two reasons. One, obviously we want the tourism to come in, for the people coming in to have a good time. But those numbers are up, and we're thrilled. Pre-pandemic numbers are up. What's not up is the business conventions, the things that used to happen, and that brings in a lot of economy, obviously to the area, and it also stabilize you when it's not big tourist times. And I want to get that back into people's heads, right? I have a large organization. I got 65,000 crew members in my business. We do large conventions and we do these things. And I remind them, look, I have a big business and I grew it from a very small business. Any size business you are, there's a great place to come in to have a very productive meeting, but to have this culture and a good time with your team members and wait for you to connect with them somewhere really close. I think that to me is probably one of my biggest goals of being the Super Bowl host committee, parade king, just to be like, they can say, "Oh, look, hey, you remember what?" And you have to plan these things 3 years out, right? They're like, that next one we do, let's go to New Orleans. Then it's people in the state. You talk about your daughter coming back to the state. I want these great grads we have in our great universities, all over the state. Our kids go to somewhere to school outside the state, going, you know what? I want to do my business in Louisiana, or I want to work in Louisiana because I know I love it and I want to raise my family here. But I raised my family here, and I started my business and grew my business, and I've had a full life because of it. So I want to keep these people in our state, and also I want people to go, hey, look, I want to move from where I'm at. People are moving all over, but also a lot of East and West Coast, Northeast and West Coast. People are moving. They're moving places, like Dallas, Texas, and places like that. I want to consider, hey, coming into any one of our cities and in Louisiana, we have the great culture, rich culture, but it's also a good place to do business, to work, to do those things. That's the side I want to showcase all the way around. And look, if we pick up and keep a couple of businesses that grow and become international and do that, we've done our job.
Well, boom, mic drop. I mean, that's it. You're absolutely right. And thank you for representing and thank you for sharing that message. Cause I don't think that a lot of people, and maybe they do, they think of New Orleans as fun and a great place to go and visit, but not necessarily as a great place to do business. And let me tell you, just like you, I've had an incredible career here in New Orleans. I believe that the only sin, this is what Michael Hecht said on my podcast recently about the Super Bowl. He said, Michelle, the only sin in New Orleans is to be boring. And I said, God, that is so true. And I actually dedicated the book to the city of New Orleans, where you don't have to be perfect. This is a city that is so inclusive, that celebrates individuality. And I'm just thrilled that the Super Bowl is coming next week. I want all of y'all who are listening, come out and see the Super Bowl parade Saturday, February the 8th at 10 a.m. Yell for Todd Graves and just know, come here and do business and bring your meetings here and set up shop, because it is a gorgeous, gorgeous place inside and out, from the people and the architecture and the music and the food. Just the overall culture is fabulous. So Todd Graves, thank you so much for being on the Seismic Shift podcast.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me on.
That was awesome. And thank you all so much. We'll see you again. We've got 2 more episodes dropping on the Super Bowl, so stay tuned. Thanks y'all so much. Thank you for joining us on the Seismic Shift. And before you go, can I ask one favor of you? Do you mind sharing today's episode with a leader you know? The power of this conversation is found in your using it and sharing it to create real connection in your life. Lastly, I'd like to thank Loyola University New Orleans and the Terra Firma audio team for helping bring this content to life.